I think God chose this day.
我去年才认识Osamu，另外一个神父介绍他要来这里读艺术的时候，所以他找一个地方可以住，也就是可以有祈祷的环境的地方，所以我很欢迎他来这里。然后因为他夏天的时候住在这里的时候，我有一天有这个想法，要不要做一个为了帮助我们福传，就是一个壁画在我们的门口。Osamu马上愿意觉得的福传的事情。
第一次Osamu来台湾，我们有机会看他画的图片，然后觉得哇，非常漂亮。不只是有艺术的价值，还有一个天主教一个信仰的一个价值，觉得很可以吸引人来认识天主。而且在教会的历史上，艺术是很重要。在欧洲，在亚洲，在美洲，什么地方都有很漂亮的艺术品，可以是一些圣母像，或是一些图片，为了帮助人认识基督。
现在我是想会很简单，就是直接在墙壁上画画。但是后来我们发现没有那么简单，因为台湾的气候很潮湿，所以我们就后来决定要用别的方式，就是不是一个壁画，但是先就是画在一种就是油画是的。
以后Osamu跟陆神父决定要画一个圣母玛利亚，特别是一个天使来拜访圣母，为了报告耶稣会来这个世界。然后Osamu回到意大利，然后画这个图片。
I'm a native of Japan. I was born in Tokyo in a good family. I grew up as a non-Catholic, non-Christian. My father was an engineer and became a professor of university and taught engineering. So that he was very different from me in many ways. Probably he had difficulty understanding what I do too. The art is a bit more non-practical for him. My mother was a housewife, good parents, but they didn't really have any religious belief. When I remember my childhood, there was a time for search for something bigger than ourselves. So I grew up in that environment, searching for something spiritual too. Searching where I came from, where I go, what is love and what is the purpose of this life. Because anyway, we all human are spiritual, and I was also. And actually I think many artists who grew up in a secular society, they tend to have this thirst to the supernatural life and spiritual life. I often see this, and I was one of them. I did a theater and film before I focused on art, because that was also what my father wanted. It was difficult for him, and back then for me to imagine a career in art. So I chose the other industry that seemed more practical. And then I decided to focus on art, as that was what I liked since I was a child. And okay, I like Renaissance art, I like classical art. So I decided to go to Florence to study Renaissance art. That's where many things happened unexpectedly. That's where I converted to Catholicism, and I was baptized 2010. My background, artistic background, is mainly from a Russian Academy of Art in Florence. That goes back to 19th century Russian realism. That's my main education in painting and drawing. And later I studied with Imao Kun in Taiwan. He is a master painter in realism, a master painter in color. His color is amazing. And while I studied religious art, I didn't know that was religious art. That was beautiful art to me. It was harmonious and beautiful. I didn't really know about those subject matters, but little by little I started to see something behind. What happened to me was that I was seeing all those beautiful works, and that's attracted me before even I knew the gospel, what it represented in those pictures. I was trying to paint like Raffaello and Michelangelo. So it was my artistic interest to study them. Mm-hmm. But I realized those beauty come from spirituality behind. Mm-hmm. It was not just a technique, artistic technique. So when I realized that, oh, maybe that was what I was looking for. So when I realized that there is something behind that rendered the artworks beautiful, I started to look into it. It was interesting. I read paintings of Renaissance and Baroque like illiterate of Middle Ages. I was reading painting first before I actually read the Gospel. So I approached Gospel in a very, very visual way at the beginning, and still so, and it will be so. That experience kind of confirmed that beauty is visual version of truth, and I was attracted to truth, the image of merciful Father which Jesus brought to us, without even knowing the content of the gospel, because I felt, it was intuitive. I felt that the beauty of it. And that was the first time actually I encountered probably the Lord of mercy, God of mercy, which attracted me. That's the conversion start to take place. Conversion not from one religion to other, but the conversion of my heart. It was all providential, and it's amazing how God led me to arrive. Because when I went to Italy, I didn't think about religious conversion. And when I converted also, I mean, it was a great thing, but it was not the path I was planning. I was studying art. That was the main path I was taking. In 2008, I arrived in Florence. In 2010, I was baptized. And since then, it has been 8 years since my conversion. I can say it was the greatest gift I ever had in my life. And that changed the whole view, how I see the world, how I relate to others, how I see suffering. That's something that changed the most. Suffering became something positive. I would say suffering start to have this idea for the first time that suffering never takes away hope, which was something new to me. Suffering was suffering, better to avoid it and be with something positive always. And that was my idea before. I finished my academic study in 2014 from the Russian Academy of Art. I started teaching in Sacred Art School in Florence in 2013, and I worked there for 4 years. I opened my studio, La Bottega de Arte Sacra, La Pietra Scartata, in 2017. That's where I give my private lessons to students. I did a prodigal son in jeans. That was something I painted from my experience of my conversion. Sorrowful Mother in Hope, which I did last year. Unexpected Feast, Judas Kiss, and so on. And Annunciation for sure. Sorrowful Mother in Hope, it's Virgin Mary in the sky, stabbed with the sword and contemplating on the kingdom of heaven with the background of clouds of atomic bomb which fell in Nagasaki. And there is a light of hope behind the painting. This is not a political painting. My intention was very different. It was inspired by the book Bell of Nagasaki, written by Takashi Nagai. He lost daughters and his wife in the atomic bomb, and he also died 5 years after because of the radiation. And during these 5 years, he wrote many books, and he talks about strength of faith to rebuild a city from nothing. And also he talks about forgiveness, and this inspired me to do this. So down in the painting there is a rain of bloods. Actually it rained after the bombing because it was so hot, so it rained. It was not red, so I turned it into red symbolically. And then is to say, when we contemplate on the kingdom of heaven, we can forgive. It's not a matter of which nation on the earth did what thing, which we often talk about. Only way to forgive is to see the kingdom of God, and which gives hope to us, because war in national level is one thing, and we also have a similar thing in our daily life too, between friends, also in the family. Only way to forgive completely from heart is contemplating on the kingdom of heaven, suffering and resurrection of Jesus Christ. So this painting was also, for me, it was like a prayer, and it was very beautiful. Unexpected feast. I was asked to paint this subject by the friar, Franciscan friar I know, and he liked this story of Saint Francis. His friar and him and other friars were fasting. They fasted long, but before completing, one of the friars couldn't continue. He wanted to eat. So he got up at night. Saint Francis saw him suffering because he couldn't continue his fasting. Saint Francis got closer. He actually brought a bread to give it to him. He was merciful. He was not like the head, the boss who punishes others. He was like others. And then surprisingly, he ate bread before he gave that bread to the friar. So he broke his fast to have communion with the brother, because he fasted enough. And he talked about this in front of other friars as an example of communion with the brothers. Fast is not for its own sake, but for charity. That's why I titled Unexpected Feast. The friar who received the bread was in joy. In Judas' kiss, this is also scene of betrayal, but the gaze of Jesus is towards us, and that's merciful, even at the moment of betrayal. There is always something I looked for in those paintings, which is mercy of God. That is the main theme I find most of my painting depicts. Why I do sacred art now? I mean, if you see the market of art, sacred art is small percentage. There is some kind of mission I want to do, and that is gospel is present today too. It's not something that happened 2,000 years ago and now it's gone. In our everyday life, we see gospel. In the case of this sorrowful mother in hope, which we can see in the light of the gospel, Mary contemplating on the mercy of God, confronting the tragedy in our human history. So I think God chose this date because when I booked my flight to Taipei to work on the niche, I didn't know this year we have Annunciation a week after the Easter. Usually it's 25th of March. Because this year, the 25th of March was Palm Sunday. That's why the day of Feast of the Annunciation was transferred to 8th of April. If that wasn't the case, I could not complete the Annunciation. We had a time to complete our works because of this change. So it's providential in many ways. It took me 2.5 months to paint. Besides sketches I had done half a year ago, and I left it for half a year and retook the sketch and started working on a bigger scale, first in drawing and then on canvas. That's for painting, and this painting has a niche around it, and that took us 1 month to complete. The reason is this. First, the name of the church is Our Lady of Songshan Catholic Church. So Mary is very important in this specific church. And the second is that it's important scene of the gospel where God came into the world. The thing is, we don't have Jesus in the painting, but Jesus is there. Jesus is always the final goal for us, and she just conceived Jesus by the power of the Holy Spirit. So Jesus is not there, but below the painting it's written,
你会怀孕生子，叫他耶稣，就是建筑，拯救我们，就是耶稣这个名字的意思。因为我们的南京东路段是一个很热闹的地方，晚上，特别是晚上，很多人跑来跑去，或是来逛街，来去那个夜市，或是去买东西、去吃饭。在路上有很多人，可是因为人很忙，很少知道这里有一个教堂。教堂是建筑处的一个地方啊，无论是信仰基督，或是还不认识建筑，大家来我们的教堂里面，可以感觉有神住在这个地方。可是问题是很少人敢进入教堂，所以这个图片是为了告诉这些人，你们要来进我们的教堂，请来纪念这个天主的临在，认识天主对他们的爱，天主对他们的慈悲。
This painting is made to evangelize people who has not known the Jesus yet. Seeing the percentage of a Catholic population or Christian population in Taiwan, many people has not have chance to get to know Jesus. My hope is that this talk to somebody who happened to be there, who just passed by and saw the image and wow, that's beautiful. What's this? What's this lady? What's this flying man? That's the start. That was the start for me. It's telling story of Jesus. So it's in this way I participate in spreading this beautiful good news of the Lord. Yes, when I paint, inspiration comes from God. If I do something I can do, it's very limited. And if I do something I cannot do, with the help of God and prayers. I hope beauty will appear on the canvas. Every day before I paint, I pray and ask for even a practical solution in my painting. How can I represent Virgin Mary? What gesture can I have? Especially when I made my first sketch, maybe first hours I didn't draw nor paint. I contemplated and entered into the scene, tried to feel also what's within the character, how the life was like for Mary, and what she was doing when Gabriel entered. First of all, I need to experience the scene, because art and beauty gives you experience, and I'm creating artwork with painting, but also I'm experiencing the scene as a viewer before anybody else. There are a lot of time for contemplation. It's such a journey. It's led by prayers, so I really depends on God's help. It becomes more specific when I paint one scene. First, I see something I see, but to represent a scene, there is something which I need to represent and I didn't see. I see it as a deepening. There is a moment in the production, usually in the middle, I struggle. I don't find a solution. I enter into the phase in which my initial idea didn't capture. And that's the moment I need to go deeper, also in faith, to find what I looked for and what I didn't find at the beginning. So it gives me an opportunity to deepen my faith too. How Mary was like, what was her gaze like. They are very specific, and they are visible representation of her invisible soul. When I paint one subject spending 2 months or 3 months in front of it, I pray and I immerse myself in the scene to contemplate on it, and contemplate above all the mercy of the Lord and the beauty God created. So for me it's like writing a prayers with a brush and colors. So yeah, every painting I do is different, as every subject is different, and time I paint is different. So I have, as every day is different, it's always fresh. This painting was unique in a way that location was set already, and there was a purpose of the painting. This painting was located outside the church, and there was a specific viewpoint a father wanted. That was from the main street, not right in front of the painting, but from the left. So I composed this painting with this limitation, and this limitation guided my composition. What I mean is that Angel Gabriel in the painting is left, and it's very tall and big, and Mary is kneeling on the right. So there's this almost like perspective effect from the left to right, and beyond it you find the entrance of the church. So this painting was an invitation to the church in an abstract sense. This painting is probably the biggest project I did. In a way, the painting was big, and also there was niche construction involved, but it's not about the dimension, it was about the content. It was about the experience I had, and prayer goes together with the painting. When God enters in creation, He does amazing things, and in this project I really experienced His power. So I tried to invite Him in my creation. It was such an adventure. First, there was a need to protect the painting from humidity and heat. That's a practical aspect of it. And then as a designer, I wanted to have a niche that's like a House of Mary. In a way, symbolically, of course, I didn't make the whole house of it. But Mary became the house of the Lord, and then this niche was like a house for Mary. So I wanted to have something beautiful and humble and heartful. Humble because she was not a queen of the country. She was a humble girl who prayed, and God chose that little girl to be a mother of God. First, I came up with an elaborated design to show, not necessarily for beauty of its own sake, but to show care for the Mother of God, for Mary. I wanted to represent spiritual richness in physical form, so I made an elaborated design. Also, I live in Italy, and I saw so many beautiful architectures, and those inspired me to make this niche. But I realized those Roman architectural elements I used a lot in my first draft was often used for luxury apartment here, not necessarily for churches. Actually, churches has less these ornamental elements. And I realized if I use elaborated design for the niche, that might convey a different message, maybe richness of the church, which is not true, and which is not something I wanted to communicate. It was representation of a spiritual richness, which I wanted to convey. So when I realized this, I changed the design, simplified it, and took elements from a pre-existing architecture to match with it. So I came up with this design. There is no particular message of mine. This is a testimony to the gospel, and my intention is to show the sense of revelation which we have in the gospel. I think the painting shows emotional aspect of a gospel. Art gives an experience to the viewer, which is spiritual experience. That means it intercedes our prayers. It makes us see what we don't see. That's the beauty of art, and that's what I want to give to the viewer. For believers and non-believers alike, and for non-believers, that should be something not just eye-catching but also heart-catching, like I was when I converted, because that's the mystery which is available to everybody and not known to everybody. For believers, I hope it helps for them to immerse themselves in the scene. When we picture a gospel, it's so rich, and it's not just facts, of course. There is a soul, heart, mind, all present.
我觉得这个壁画非常美丽。Osamu是一个祈祷的人，很有祈祷的精神，所以在这个壁画可以感觉这个壁画不只是一种好看的，也是一种帮助我们祈祷。可以在这个壁画上面可以感觉有灵修的气氛。我是觉得美丽是很重要的，对我们来说，在我们的教会，在我们的教堂用美丽的艺术品为了新人认识天主的美丽，美丽是从天主来的，它就是美丽的泉源，所以希望我们的教堂在这里也是这样子。以后希望有其他机会，其他艺术品为了我们的教堂越来越美丽，这样子可以越来越帮助更多的人认识天主的爱，天主的美丽。所以我真谢谢Osamu他这样的帮我们做这个壁画，这样帮助我们的福传。我听说在方济各会的一个教堂在桃园，他会来画画。希望也以后有其他地方这样子可以利用一个亚洲人的艺术品的艺术的工作，为了在台湾福传。
I think this painting I did for the Songshan Church is for everybody. It's invitation, and anybody who felt by this painting should not have any hesitation to go into the church. That was my case. I didn't know what those beautiful painting I saw was about, but I was attracted. And then I entered into the church. So the door of entrance right next to it. So please come in.
Sing